In Excel, a printing area needs to be defined before printing. The steps to define a printing area are shown on the screen. I will follow these steps to set the information shown on the screen as the printing area. First, I select the area to print. So, I select all the cells with information. Second, I click the tab Page Layout. Third, I click on Print Area. Finally, I click Set Print Area. The area to print is now selected. Let's see how the defined area would be printed on paper. To do so, follow the steps shown on the screen. I first click the File menu. Second, I click Print. Third, I click the Printer drop-down list and select my printer. Finally, I click Printer Properties and select the page size. As you can see, the selected area is shown in the Preview area. The Preview area shows how the selected area will be printed on paper. The left bottom corner tells us that Excel is displaying page 1 of the 3 pages. We can move to the next or previous pages by clicking the arrows next to the page number, like this. If you want to print the selected area on paper, click the button Print. Since I do not want to print the document yet, I just click the left arrow located on the upper left corner to go back to the workbook. There is another way to view how the selected area will be printed on paper. The steps shown on the screen will guide you to do just that. I first click View. Then I click Page Break Preview. And zoom out. We can see that Excel has split the selected area into 3 pages. Each page is surrounded by a blue line. This method shows how the selected area will be printed by displaying all pages at the same time. To return to the previous view, follow the steps shown on the screen. So, I first click View. Then I click Normal. As a result, the workbook was returned to its default view. This is a continuation of the previous video. In the previous video, the area to print was set and the printer to use was selected. This video and the next 3 videos will explain how to modify or adjust the way in which the selected area will be printed. To adjust the way in which the selected area will be printed, we need to open the Page Setup window by following the steps shown on the screen. So, I first click the File menu. Second, I click Print. Finally, I click Page Setup, which is located at the very end of the printing options. And the page setup window is open. The page setup window is composed of 4 tabs. Each one of them has several tools to set the area to print. This video will explain how to use the page setup tools under the tab Page. When we set up a page, the first step is to choose the paper size. This is selected from the paper size drop-down list. As you can see, we can select different paper sizes. I select Custom, which is a paper size that I have already defined in my printer. Now that the paper size has been defined, I define the printing orientation. This is set under the area Orientation that has the options Portrait and Landscape. The option Portrait is currently selected. The Portrait orientation is used when the text needs to be printed along the shorter side of the page. Now I select the option Landscape and click the button OK. We can see that this option prints along the longest side of the page. Also, we see that I need 4 pages to print the document. The difference between the landscape and portrait orientations is that the landscape orientation shows more columns than the portrait option. On the other hand, the portrait option shows more rows than the landscape option. Now that the paper orientation has been changed to landscape, let's see how Excel will print all the pages. So, I exit the preview window and change the view to Page Break Preview. We can see that Excel has distributed the area to print into 4 pages. The size of the printed area is 2 pages wide and a little more than 1 page in height. Even though it is a little more than 1 page in height, Excel considers it as 2 pages. How can we tell Excel to fit these 4 pages in exactly 2 pages wide and 1 page in height? To accomplish this, I need to open the Page Setup window first. The second group of options under the Page tab is called Scaling. Scaling has 2 options. The first option is called Adjust To and allows for making the selected area larger or smaller by changing the number in the box next to it. The number entered by default is 100, which represents the normal size of the selected area. To make the area print double its size, I enter 200. And click OK. As you can see, the area to print doubled its original size. Now, 18 pages are required to print the document rather than 4 pages. Now, I will reduce the area to print to half its original size. I enter 50. And click OK. As you can see, the area to print was reduced to half of its original size. Now, only 1 page is required to print the document rather than 4 pages. The second option under Scaling is called Fit To. This option can make the area to print fit a specified number of pages in both width and height. To illustrate, I select Fit To. Since I want to fit the area selected into 2 pages in width, I enter 2 in the first text box. And since I need to fit the selected area into 1 page in height, I enter 1 in the second text box. Finally, I click OK. We see that the left bottom corner shows 2 as the number of pages. This confirms that Excel has scaled the number of pages from 4 to 2. Let's see how Excel will print the document. So, I exit the preview window and we can see that Excel has distributed the area to print in exactly 2 pages wide and 1 page in height. To enter information in the header of every page, follow the steps shown on the screen. I first open the Page Setup window. Second, I click the Header/Footer tab. Third, I click Custom Header. Finally, I will enter the information that I want to see appear in the header. As you can see, we can display information on the left, center, and right sections of the header. I click the left section box and enter the company name, which is Builders Incorporated. In the center section box, I enter the report name, which is Salaries. In the right section box, I will enter the current date and time. To do so, I click the right section box and enter the current date by clicking the Insert Date button. Then I leave a blank space and I click the Insert Time button. I click OK to accept the changes and click OK again to close the Page Setup window. As you can see, the header information has been inserted at the top of the page. I select the next page and see that the headers have been inserted in all pages. To enter information in the footer of every page, follow the steps shown on the screen. I first open the Page Setup window. Second, I click the Header/Footer tab. Third, I click Custom Footer. Finally, I will enter the information that I want to see appear in the footer. As you can see, we can display information on the left, center, and right areas of the footer. I click the left section box and enter the file name by clicking the Insert File Name button. In the right section, I want to enter the number of the page followed by the total number of pages in the document. To do this, I click the right section and write page. Then I'll leave a blank space and I click the Insert Page Number button. Then I write of and leave a blank space. And finally, I click the Insert Number of Pages button. I click OK to accept the changes and click OK again to close the Page Setup window. As you can see, the footer information has been inserted at the bottom of the page. The bottom right side informs us that we are looking at page 1 and that the document has 2 pages. I click the next page and see that the footer has been inserted in all pages. If you need to enter the path of the file instead of just the name, use the Insert File Path button instead of the Insert File Name button. To do this, I open the Custom Footer window. And delete the information entered in the left section. Then I click the Insert File Path button. And click OK. And click OK again. As you can see, the file path has been entered. However, it is too long and I would like to make the font of this text smaller. To customize the font of the header or footer, use the button Format Text. To do this, I open the Custom Footer window. And select the information entered in the left section. I click the end of the text and move the mouse to the left. As you can see, the text gets highlighted. Then I click the Format Text button. And from the font window, I select the color red. Then I select the font size 8. And I select Italics. Finally, I click OK. And click OK again. And click OK one last time. As you can see, the font of the file path has been modified. To see the margins of a page, follow the steps shown on the screen. I open Print Preview. And click the icon Show Margins that is located on the bottom right corner. As you can see, segmented lines appear on the print preview. These lines are called margins. To hide the margins, I just click the Show Margins icon again, like this. The selected area margins are fixed by 2 vertical lines and 2 inside horizontal lines. The page header will always be placed below the top horizontal line. The page footer will always be placed above the bottom horizontal line. To modify the location of the margins, follow the steps shown on the screen. Right now, we see the months of January and February in the first page. However, I want to see the month of March too. So, I need to move the left and right margins. To do this, I will follow the steps shown on the screen. I first place the mouse cursor on the left margin. As you can see, the mouse cursor has changed to a double black arrow pointing in opposite directions. Second, I press the left button of the mouse and keep it pressed while I move the mouse to the left. As you see, the line moves with the mouse cursor. Finally, now that I have found the right place for the margin, I release the left button of the mouse. I do the same with the right margin. As you can see, now we're able to see the month of March as well. In the same way, the position of all the horizontal lines can be modified. As you can see in the preview page, the area to print is aligned to the left. So, on the left side, there is no space between the margin and the text. However, there is space on the right side of the page. I want to center the area to print horizontally and to even out the spaces on both sides of the page. To do this, I follow these steps shown on the screen. I first open Page Setup. Second, I click the tab Margins. We can see the area to print represented as a range of cells. This range of cells is aligned to the left with space on the right side. Third, I select the checkbox horizontally to center the area to print horizontally. Notice that the representation of the area to print has been horizontally centered and there is equal space on both sides now. Finally, I click OK. As you can see, the area to print has been centered horizontally and there is equal space on the left and right side of the page. Following the same steps, the area to print can be vertically centered. Let's preview the document to print. The first page clearly shows the names of the employees paid in January. Let's look at the second page. The second page shows the names of the employees paid, but it does not show when the payments were made. Let's look at the third page. The third page shows the months in which the payments were made, but we can't see who the payments were made to. Let's look at the fourth page. The fourth page shows only payments, and we can't see who received them and when. To make the printed report readable, I need to show the months on every page as well as the names of the employees. Only in that way will it be possible to know who the payments were made to as well as when. In this video, I will explain how to accomplish this. To show the table titles shown in the first row on every printed page, follow the steps shown on the screen. I first click the Page Layout tab. Second, I click Print Titles. Third, I click the box next to Rows to Repeat at top. Fourth, in the workbook, I click the Title Headers row. As you can see, row number 1 is automatically entered in the text box Rows to Repeat at top. Finally, I click OK. Now, let's see how the print preview looks. We see that the first, second, third, and fourth pages have title headers in each column. Now we can identify the month in which the payments were made. To show the first 2 columns of the table on every printed page, follow the steps shown on the screen. I first click the Page Layout tab. Second, I click Print Titles. Third, I click the box next to Columns to Repeat at left. Fourth, in the workbook, I select the first 2 columns. As you can see, columns A and B are automatically entered in the text box Columns to Repeat at left. Finally, I click OK. Now, let's see how the print preview looks. We can see that the first, second, third, and fourth pages have the first 2 columns displayed. Now we can identify the employees that were paid on every page.